welcome. Today I'm going to share highlights from a very special tribute evening for Wilf McGuinness.
The last bit I want to do is just read a little passage from Bobby Charlton's book that I think defines my dad in lots of ways. He's talking about that season after Munich. No young player had ever faced more a daunting challenge. He had to run in the footsteps of Duncan Edwards in both the shirt of Manchester United and England. But if this created any doubts in his mind, he concealed them magnificently. His running and tackling created great surges of conviction throughout the team. Looking back is so easy, and with hindsight, so distressing, to remember how passionately Wilf embraced the vision of United as the team who would not, could not be snuffed out by the cruelty of Munich. He was a great friend and a great competitor.
Wilf McGuinness is one of the original Busby Babes, who ended up with the impossible job of following Sir Matt as manager in 1969, a decade after his playing career was cut short by injury when he was only 22.
Wilf was one of us and part of the fabric and history of Manchester United.
Sadly, Wilf wasn't fit to attend his tribute evening, but we did him proud with a special occasion, and it was great to see Sir Alex Ferguson there too, along with some familiar faces representing the Association of Former Manchester United Players. Paddy Crowand, always a hugely popular figure at Old Trafford, and Norman Whiteside, another big favourite at these events. A special guest on the top table was Ian McShane. The actor's father, Harry McShane, played in United's league title-winning side of 1952. McShane Sr., one of the association's founder members in 1985. With Wilf missing, his son Paul McGuinness, another loyal servant in years gone by at our football club, paid a wonderful tribute to his father after Alan Wardle made a special presentation on behalf of the former players.
I always remember wagging off school and riding a bike with my brother on a Wednesday afternoon when there was no floodlights, etc. and United were playing Wolverhampton Wanderers. And who made his debut at the left half that day? Wilf McGuinness. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. We became great friends throughout all the years, going on to the Old Boys Association in 1985, and unfortunately, to make a presentation is not here. So, Paul, on behalf of the Old Boys Association, would like to give that to your dad, which is all about Wilf McGuinness, all the montage put together.
Thanks a lot, Alan. There's nothing more my dad loves than looking at photographs of himself, so that is an absolutely brilliant big present, and he will love it. So I have to report to the boss that Dad's unavailable for selection this weekend, because last night I had to go with him to Withenshaw Hospital. 13 hours we were in casualty. He's a swollen knee, and of course he has the dementia now, so he was very agitated by it. He was still in fighting spirit. It took 4 nurses to pin him down while they took the fluid off his knee, and he still is upset himself though, because straight away he propositioned all 4 of them. So there was absolutely no change. If we go back to where it all started for him, or for that injury, so that injury to his left knee is actually the result of, in 1959, him having a sore shin, being in the first team after Munich, being a regular, but having a sore shin. And they kept going to the physio, couldn't find it. They went to and x-rayed it, but they couldn't find any problem. Eventually, he couldn't train during the week, and he could just play the weekends. Eventually, his form dropped, and they dropped him. He went to the reserves, and he ended up playing the reserves. But he had an injection in his shin because he said, "Oh, there's no problem," and he snapped it. But when they put it back together again, it went over like that. It didn't go straight. So he had a graft off his hip. His leg was then an inch shorter than the other, which then resulted in both hips being replaced, his knee being replaced, and that's why all the weight's been on this knee, and there you go. And of course, he had to retire. He then was only a young guy, so in the afternoons, with a lot of these guys probably here are still there with the youth team, and everybody played head tennis every afternoon. And of course, he has the dementia now, so he's got the full set of injuries through a lot of enthusiasm. It's such a shame he's not here because he loves United. And of course, he's the dementia now. The first thing he says when he sees anybody out is, "Do you know who I am? I'm the ex-Man United manager," and he's telling everybody because he loves United. But he also loves the old boys. He just loved coming and seeing everybody. Get a bit emotional now, but he loved it. So he would have loved this. But most of all, what he would have loved tonight would have been centre of attention. Because as you know, that was his thing. That's why he did the after dinners. He loved all that, being the guy everybody's looking at, and he absolutely loved it. But I think also throughout football, having travelled with him from the age of about 10 to games and to clubs and being in boardrooms, he was loved all over the place. So even at Main Road, the first time I went to Main Road with him, up the steps, turned right. Where's all the City lads? Where are they? All the City table. We've got them in. Where are they? Over the back. He would be in Fred Air, there would be Ken Barnes, there would be Tudor Thomas, and I couldn't believe the hospitality he got, the friendship. It was amazing. They were brilliant with him. And I do presume probably at the end of the night, at the end of the night, they did say, "Thank God he's gone," and we couldn't shut him up. But they were always brilliant and very, very hospitable, and we were always grateful for that. Absolutely. But his main love is United. I think he's been defined his whole life by being a Busby Babe. His speech, we know it off by heart in our house. I joined Manchester United in 1953 after captaining Manchester, Lancashire and England schoolboys, and then joining Manchester United, winning 3 FA Youth Cups, we won 5 in a row. Duncan Edwards, Bobby Charlton won 3, and of course he rammed that down my throat, but I've had it all my life. So when we actually won the Youth Cup when I was the coach under Sir Alex, it was a bit of like, thank God for that. At least I've done something he's done, following in his footsteps. But he was more than that. He was England youth coach manager in his 20s. They won the World Youth Cup, and he had Ron Harris and what's he called? Tommy Smith, 2 hard men in his team. So he tells the story, they were in the World Cup, they were staying at Bognor Regis, they'd won a game, and they were singing and dancing after the game. And going back to the chalet, the Greek coach was shouting down, "Where's your coach? Where's your coach? You must keep quiet." So he went back into his room, took off his tie, took off his jacket to make it look like he'd been in all night, And he said behind him was Tommy Smith rolling his sleeves up saying, "Let's do the bastard work." So just a couple more stories, because his mentor was Jimmy Murphy, the great Jimmy Murphy, who took over when Sir Matt was injured in the crash and really saved the club. But also he was the coach for the Busby Babes. It wasn't, Busby was the manager and Jimmy Murphy was the guy who coached them and brought them on. So Jimmy at first didn't really fancy my dad. He wasn't the most attractive looking player or mover. So he got him over the far side where where the players go in now. And there's a patch of ground there that used to be cinders, and they used to play 15 aside there and so on. But he got him against the wall with his left foot, and he said, "Wilf, practice against it there with your left foot, and I'll be back soon." And the story goes, he forgot all about him, and 2 hours later he's covered in sweat, and Jimmy comes back and says, "Bloody hell, Wilf, you'll do for me, with that determination." So he really took a shine to him then. So then he came to his debut, 17, like I said, at Old Trafford against Wolves. So my dad's in the corner, a bit nervous, and Jimmy saw him. I thought, "Well, I'll get him going here." And he went over and he said, "Wilf, I hate black and gold. And my dad said, I hate black and gold as well, Jimmy, you know? And he said, you know what, this Peter Broadbent you're playing against today, he's out to take the bonus out of your pocket. And if he takes that bonus out of your pocket, you won't be able to go home and treat your mum and dad tonight. And my dad said, oh. And he said, you need to get in and get this ball first. And my dad said, give me the ball. Went out. And he's warming up and he's frothing at the mouth now. And this Peter Broadbent apparently is an absolute gentleman footballer. And he came over to my dad and said, Wilf, all the best, son, today on your debut. And my dad said, piss off, you thieving bastard. And just one more about Jimmy that I really like, because Jimmy then became my sort of hero. So I, when I even was a kid, wanted to be a player at United, but I also wanted to be a coach because I heard all these stories about Jimmy Murphy. So my dad tells this story about Duncan Edwards playing in the youth team. Jimmy, before the game, says to the rest of the lads, don't be overawed because the great Duncan's playing. Just play your own game and just get on with it and you'll be fine. So into the first half, they're 2-0 down. And there's a Cockney guy behind him shouting, hey Edwards, where's this Edwards? Where's this Edwards? Where's your Edwards now? So it gets to half time, and Jimmy comes in and he said, right lads, forget what I told you before the game. Every time you get it, give it to Duncan. So they go out in the second half, and it's 3-2 to United, and Duncan scored all three. And he turns around to the guy and goes, that's F. Edwards. So all my family would be here. My mum's not well, unfortunately, and she is the rock of the family. She's the one who's kept him going. In fact, she should have retired a long time ago herself, and we're just forcing the two now. My son's here, my wife, my sister, my other sisters in the States. My brother is away on holiday, but we are so proud of him.
The McGuinness family are rightly proud, not only because of Wilf's special place in the history of Manchester United as a former manager and player. What many fans don't know is that Wilf also had a role to play on the coaching staff of England's World Cup winners in 1966.
At the dinner for the World Cup final, he had the job of looking after the players' wives because he'd been part of the staff. And when he saw that, Alf Ramsey said, no, you've got to be here. And he put him right by his right-hand side. He's always very proud of that. As a story he tells us all the time, drummed it into you. But he was very proud of that and thought he was a fantastically loyal manager, as Busby was, and so on. I think his life's been defined by being a Busby Babe. You think all his friends died in that crash. They were unbelievable mates, grown up in the youth team, 3 youth cups, won the league, going into Europe for the first time, all these experiences, and then they die, you know, and then they came back. They come back from Munich. We all know about the game. Within 2 weeks, they won that game. They go to the cup final, lose it, but they got to the cup final with a patched-up team. And not many people know this. The next season, they finished second in the league. That's unbelievable, isn't it? 8 players gone. And my dad... So my dad was sort of at the forefront of that, I think. Although he's had lots of setbacks in his life, obviously he broke his leg, he got sacked from United, all his hair fell out, all those sort of things. He's never complained. I always think he's thinking of those guys who died. How can I complain when his mates had died? So the last bit I want to do is just read a little passage from Bobby Charlton's book that I think defines my dad in lots of ways. He's talking about that season after Munich. See if I can hold it together. He says, that season after Munich, my friend Wilf McGuinness was producing performances of such power and confidence that within weeks he had made a stunning arrival in the England team. No young player had ever faced more a daunting challenge. He had to run in the footsteps of Duncan Edwards in both the shirt of Manchester United and England. But if this created any doubts in his mind, he concealed them magnificently. His running and tackling created great surges of conviction throughout the team. Looking back is so easy, and with hindsight, so distressing, to remember how passionately Wilf embraced the vision of United as the team who would not, could not be snuffed out by the cruelty of Munich. He was a great friend and a great competitor. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Wow. Paul McGuinness, ladies and gentlemen, representing his father and the family. Paul, you've made him very proud. That was absolutely marvellous. Thank you, Paul. A wonderful tribute to a wonderful legend, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Wilf McGuinness. Thank you.